You're a big one.
I'd hate to be such a nuisance.
You'll be hard to digest.
Enjoy this? Subscribe now. Today we discuss Van Helsing, a gothic horror movie, so stay tuned and enjoy our review. Be prepared for some twists ahead. In a hidden castle, a crazed scientist built Frankenstein's monster under the command of Dracula, the vampire lord. But Dracula turns on him, with his servant's aid, sinking his teeth into his neck and ending his life. The monster, enraged, attacks Dracula and hurls him into the fire. Carrying his stepfather, he attempts to flee the furious mob but tragically falls into the flames. Dracula arrives with his brides, only to witness the aftermath of the carnage.
This incident caught the attention of the demon hunter Van Helsing. He found an unextinguished cigar near the corpse, indicating that the culprit was not an ordinary person and had recently left the scene. Van Helsing instinctively turned his head and noticed a figure climbing towards a high building. He quickly rushed to the skyscraper, only to be surprised when the murderer voluntarily revealed himself.
You're a big one.
I'd hate to be such a nuisance.
You'll be hard to digest.
The murderer calls himself Hyde the Giant, but his real name is Dr. Jekyll. Van Helsing had been tirelessly pursuing him for brutally murdering over 20 people. However, Dr. Jekyll seemed completely indifferent to this fact and even launched a sudden attack while speaking. Van Helsing drew his guns and aimed at Hyde, but the agile adversary dodged the bullets effortlessly, taunting Van Helsing in the process. Determined, Van Helsing pulled out his spinning wheel, and at the moment of Hyde's attack, the wheel sliced through Hyde's abdomen. However, Hyde's thick skin rendered the injury insignificant, and he retaliated by dismantling a large clock and trapping Van Helsing inside. However, when Dr. Jekyll hears the sound of the flywheel spinning, he lifts the clock and discovers a cut hole. But Van Helsing didn't run away. He stayed in the bell and removed one of Dr. Jekyll's arms before he could react. This further enraged Dr. Jekyll, who grabbed Van Helsing and threw him towards the rooftop. Dr. Jekyll followed him with a leap. In a dazed state, Van Helsing regained his senses only to be thrown off the high building by Dr. Jekyll. Despite the perilous circumstances, Van Helsing was well equipped. He aimed his grappling gun at Dr. Jekyll and fired, piercing his body before he could evade the attack. Although Dr. Jekyll didn't die, he also fixed the falling Van Helsing. Undeterred, Dr. Jekyll tugs on the ropes to bring Van Helsing up. However, this reckless act proved to be his downfall. In the blink of an eye, Dr. Jekyll went from being the victor to the loser. As Dr. Jekyll is much heavier than Van Helsing, Van Helsing can return to the roof safely. Poor Dr. Jekyll lost his grip and slowly returned to his normal form. The only thing awaiting him was death. Van Helsing arrived at the Vatican, where hunting down supernatural creatures was their mission, and now the priest has assigned him to a difficult mission. The Valerius family, on the borderlands of Romania, had been battling the vampire Dracula for generations. He had vowed to God that if they couldn't complete the task, their family's souls would never reach heaven. However, despite their efforts spanning 9 generations, Dracula remained undefeated. Only 2 members of this ancient family were left. To save the Valerius family, the priest decided to send Van Helsing to assist in completing the mission, but before he left, the priest gave him a tattered scroll that Valerius had left behind. Though its purpose was unknown, it was surely important. To accomplish this mission, Van Helsing brought along an assistant and set off for Romania to eliminate Dracula. After several days of arduous travel, they finally arrived at their destination. However, upon arrival, they discovered 3 vampires capturing their prey. These vampires not only possessed the ability to fly but also exhibited incredible strength. Van Helsing swiftly took out his repeating crossbow and relentlessly fired at the targets. Unfortunately, these creatures were agile, and even when struck by arrows, they suffered minimal damage. Instead, the vampire grabbed one of the inhabitants and took a bite, but as the sun emerged from behind the clouds, the 3 vampires suddenly vanished. It turned out they were extremely fearful of sunlight. However, this reprieve did not last long. As the dark clouds covered the sun once again, the vampires emerged from a nearby well and snatched a woman named Anna. Anna managed to draw a dagger from her belongings and free herself from the vampire's grasp. but she fell into the clutches of another vampire. At the moment Anna was about to be taken away, Van Helsing adjusted his crossbow to a single-shot mode, aimed at the vampire, and decisively released an arrow. It didn't kill the vampire, but it did save Anna. But even so, one of the vampires landed in front of Van Helsing and slowly took on human form. It turned out they were Dracula's brides, who came to the town every month in search of delectable prey. Witnessing the vampire's audacity, Van Helsing's assistant, Carl, handed him holy water, but another vampire intercepted him halfway. Van Helsing had no choice but to run towards the holy water in the church. As he dipped his crossbow into the holy water, he aimed at his target and shot multiple arrows in rapid succession. Mariska, unable to dodge in time, was impaled on the wooden structure and slowly turned into ashes, completely disappearing from this world. The remaining two vampires, seeing the situation, hurriedly fled. Perhaps sensing Mariska's death, Dracula leaped out of his coffin in a fit of rage, seeking revenge for his deceased wife. Dracula planned to launch a full-scale retaliation against humanity. He sent his werewolf minions to gather information on Van Helsing, as he was the one who had slain one of Dracula's brides, a feat unprecedented in centuries and earned the admiration of Anna. Anna invites Van Helsing to the castle, and Van Helsing realizes that Anna is a descendant of an ancient Romanian family. After their conversation, Van Helsing was allowed to rest at the castle, but in the middle of the night, Anna heard a strange noise and turned around and a man appeared before her. His name was Velkin. He was Anna's brother. Velkin wanted to reveal Dracula's secrets but lost control and transformed into a werewolf before he could finish speaking. Hearing the commotion, Van Helsing rushed to the scene, but Velkin, still retaining some sanity, quickly fled the castle. It turns out that before Van Helsing came here, Anna and her brother were fighting Dracula together. However, Velkin had been bitten by a werewolf while protecting Anna, causing him to fall into a river. Being bitten by a werewolf also turns you into a werewolf. As Velkin was Anna's only remaining family, she was devastated by his condition. Aware of the danger posed by werewolves, Van Helsing planned to hunt them down. However, Anna stops him because she has heard that Dracula has a cure for the werewolf curse. Since they are both descendants of Valerius, Van Helsing decided to help Anna find the antidote, so they went to Dracula's lair together. But to their surprise, they made a shocking discovery. The dense egg sacs in front of them are actually the offspring of vampires. Dracula, being an undead creature, was unable to procreate naturally, which frustrated him as a father. To rectify this, he instructed Igor to use scientific means to resurrect his offspring. Before the experiment began, Dracula intended to use the werewolf's unique physiology as a test subject. As lightning struck the castle, the machinery attracted the lightning's energy. Velkin, bound at the base of the tower, suffered under the relentless onslaught of electricity. When enough energy had accumulated, Igor activated the switch, causing a surge of electricity infused with the power of the werewolf to course through the numerous vampire eggs. But it wasn't long before Van Helsing, sneaking in, realized something was wrong. He digs into the egg sacs and is shocked by what he sees. As the egg sacs ruptured one by one, the vampires came back to life. To aid their rapid growth, the brides led them to feast on fresh blood, terrorizing the nearby town. People scattered in fear, but many humans became the vampires' prey. Just as they were about to retreat, the newly resurrected vampires inexplicably exploded and perished. Igor analyzed the situation and concluded that the werewolf's power was insufficient to sustain the vampire offspring. He believed that finding the key to resurrection would prevent such a problem from occurring again. Speaking of the key of resurrection, that was a few years ago. Dr. Victor Frankenstein and the bodies of 7 of his victims created a being with a new consciousness. He was known as Frankenstein's monster, which is the same resurrection key we mentioned earlier, specifically designed to create tools for resurrecting vampires. However, at the moment of his success, Dracula chose to kill Dr. Victor Frankenstein. Despite being newly conscious, Frankenstein's monster knew that it was Dr. Victor Frankenstein who created him. He first attacked Dracula and then held Dr. Victor Frankenstein's body as they both fell into a sea of fire. Now, to create such a Frankenstein's monster. Igor doesn't have the ability to do so. However, all of this was overheard by Van Helsing, who quickly left with Anna. On their way back to the castle, they fell into a hidden pit and were inexplicably attacked. The one attacking them turned out to be the Frankenstein's monster who had fallen into the sea of fire. The fire didn't burn him to death, so he had to hide underground to avoid being discovered by Dracula. Frankenstein's monster may look evil, but he hasn't done anything wrong. While they were talking, Velkin found this place by smell. To prevent Frankenstein's monster from falling into Dracula's hands and to prevent the resurrection of countless vampires, Van Helsing planned to send him to the Vatican, where there would be enough manpower to protect him. However, while en route, the bride pursued them and launched a sudden attack on Van Helsing. Due to the lack of time to turn, the carriage drove onto a broken bridge. Although Van Helsing managed to leap to the other side, the carriage was left hanging, and it quickly plummeted into a deep ravine. The bride, in order to ensure Frankenstein's monster's safety, flew forward to rescue him. However, when she opened the carriage door, she found it empty, with only silver stakes specifically designed to deal with vampires, until the vampire bride reacts. But by then it's too late. Van Helsing, on the other hand, gave a heartfelt smile. It turned out that Van Helsing and Anna were in separate carriages. The real Frankenstein's monster was on Anna's carriage at that moment. However, just as they rejoiced, the werewolf followed closely behind. At the moment the werewolf lunged with his bared fangs, Van Helsing timely shot a silver bullet from his hand, causing the werewolf to fall powerless to the side. As Anna approached to observe, she discovered that although Velkin had escaped the werewolf curse, he had paid with his precious life. Anna intended to blame Van Helsing, but she discovered that Van Helsing had been scratched by the werewolf and wouldn't last long before turning into a werewolf himself. While Anna was at a loss for words, she turned her head and was knocked out by Elera, who then took her away from the place. To save the last descendant of the Valerius family, Van Helsing returned to the town once again, but before that, he needed to hide Frankenstein's monster. Then, Van Helsing, accompanied by his assistant Carl, went to rescue Anna in secret. They infiltrated the castle and found Anna with Dracula. Van Helsing uses the ropes to get to Anna and get her out of the way. However, Dracula remained calm as he had already sent someone to track Van Helsing. The moment Van Helsing left, they captured Frankenstein's number of vampires pursuing them. Van Helsing had no choice but to flee. Carl left a powerful prop behind, and the moment the vampires came after him, they were killed by the rupture thing.